And good morning, everyone. Happy Monday to you. Yeah, 2 weeks away until we get to Christmas. Man, time is flying by. Hope you guys are doing well. I'm meteorologist Brian Good. Welcome to Snow Talk. Still lack of Snow Talk. We'll get to that in just a second. As far as the long-term pattern, which now we can get all the way through the Christmas holiday, at least Christmas week, and to try to give you an idea of how the trends are looking today with that. I'll share that with you guys as it stands today. But before we get into that, obviously I wanted to just kind of recap briefly on the events of Saturday that a lot of us were watching the images on TV, a lot of it live as it was unfolding there into Tennessee and far southern Kentucky. We were right on the pins and needles, of course, watching our southern counties, especially for a while there into the afternoon hours on Saturday. And it was just eerie to see the scenario play out nearly to what happened 2 years ago, nearly to the date and nearly to the exact same location. That was this really scary part to see all that. So before we get into the rest of Snow Talk, let me show you guys a couple things. First off, hold on 1 second. Let me backtrack here. Hold on, hit the wrong button, as always the case. All right, let me show you the radar from Saturday. And this is looping back and from the morning hours all the way into the afternoon. You'll see we had a couple cells early in the day. We had a little bit of lightning and thunder. Then we had a few of those supercells that got going. And what was wild is the section there of northwest Tennessee, far southern Kentucky, and around Nashville. This particular location ended up with multiple supercells and multiple tornadoes that were being reported. It's just such a long day for them to face a scenario like that. You don't see it very often. When we said that 2 years ago, and we ended up doing it again. But notice, I feel like that's kind of been what 2023 has even been about. Remember the wind event we had in March. And we're like, you don't see that very often around here. Rare to see it. May not see it again for a while. And then just a couple of weeks later in April, we did it again. Same scenario, I think, how these people feel around Bowling Green in West Kentucky, and certainly around Mayfield for a while. It was a little scary with a tornado not far away from the southern side there of the Kentucky-Tennessee border, not far from Mayfield. So weather patterns certainly do repeat themselves, and sometimes it's extreme ones that do. So that's a lot to be taken away here from how 2023 is going, and a lot that we'll be looking at, too, in the future on how these events especially El Nino patterns are being forecast. But you can certainly see the ongoing setup of cells. Once it got into a line, the tornado count started to go down dramatically, as usually the case. Tornadoes are the most dangerous when they're fighting for their own space. And when they have that own space to work with, that's when they can become their full potential. Once they blend into other cells, they begin to get choked off, if you will, and therefore they do not have as much of an intense setup as they would individually. But here in Kentucky, a lot of that blew because the front was so relatively slow on the southern flank there. A lot of that, what we call a lot of the moisture, stratiform rain, all that just kept building right into Kentucky. I ended up with nearly 2 inches of rain in my house. It was a mess. I'm still trying to fix some of the things in my yard from what happened on Saturday, just in the flooding aspect of it all. So, and some of you I know did not get nearly as much rainfall as parts of the metro did, but certainly around the metro, all the way down into, I would say, Bullitt County area, into Shelby County, that corridor really just got hit hard with the tornadoes. All right, that's the radar. Let me show you. This is where we are on the look of the tornado count, and I apologize. I thought these were going to be stop point. Hold on one second. I don't know why that didn't click in. All right, I'll take this one step at a time for you guys. Sorry about that. All right, there's the path of what so far has been surveyed from the National Weather Service. And if you look carefully, the cell that's in northwest areas of Tennessee, that's really where the beginnings of it were. Kind of lost track a bit, and then it redeveloped again as we got more toward the area around Clarksville, Tennessee. Clarksville, Tennessee, when I was a student at Western Kentucky University, Tennessee, Clarksville was the downtown portion of it got hit by a tornado one morning. I feel like it was a weekend morning. I just remember turning on the TV and it was just live coverage of all the brick buildings. I mean, brick buildings have been knocked down in the middle of downtown Clarksville, Tennessee. And I remember that clearly. And this time it was the northern side of Clarksville, Tennessee, which again, you guys, if you've been around Wilma Rudolph Boulevard area, that is around Fort Campbell, the road that takes you between the two cities there. Okay, and then as it crossed into southern Kentucky, you got into southern Logan County, and you got into around Guthrie. A lot of you, if you've traveled on 68 before, even 71, some people take that as a cut through to get to Clarksville, Tennessee from Fort Campbell, 79, and you will see Guthrie listed on the signs many times there. So I know exactly where this is. And at that point, you see it was the orange shading, which was the EF3, which is the strongest that so far this path has had on a rating was EF3. Went to more of the yellow, which is more of EF2 damage in the southern areas of Logan County, and then began to track to north and east just south of Russellville, Kentucky. Did hit Allensville and then just south of Russellville. And then it got to the point there into Logan where it began to lift up. We still had the wall cloud, a lot of pictures of the wall cloud were still being broadcast live at that point. So there was still a significant threat. So a tornado emergency was continued for Bowling Green, including much of the central and southern portion of Warren County. And sure enough, it did touch back down again on the southern side of the not far from the bypass area and Scottsville Road. You get south of there on Bowling Green. Missed Western Kentucky University's campus, was a little more to the north there, but just south of downtown Bowling Green where it touched down. Right now, damage there is showing up right at the EF1 scale. And then it was after that, it lifted back up and dissipated rapidly as it moved toward Hart County and eventually into Greene. So scary times, no doubt. But again, that was the path that the storm took. There is, of course, additional surveys being done around Nashville, Tennessee for the other supercell that caused extensive damage and killed more people in Nashville. That's going to be very close to Hendersonville, Gallatin, Tennessee. That survey is still ongoing, so they don't have all the points connected on that. But we do know the one at least into Montgomery County and Tennessee, Clarksville, all the way into Logan County. That part has been completed on this. I believe it's 45 miles last check was the track on that as far as length goes. Now, again, eerie because of how this was similar to what took place on December 10th and 11th, early about this time, early in the day on the 11th in 2021. The paths were similar, a little more obviously in Kentucky. Of course, we have more about what was happening about Mayfield, Kentucky. That's where we got the EF4 strength that trapped through there and killed so many people. And then, of course, the other supercell that moved through Bowling Green eventually caused fatalities into Campbellsville, Kentucky. So, again, not exactly on the storm paths. These were a little more long-tracked, but they were certainly rivaling what happened 2 years ago to the day there. Is December the new April for us around here? It's pretty wild. And I'm sure there's a lot being studied, too, about December, where cold season tornadoes and the evolution of them versus what you would have in the spring and summer season. So it's pretty wild. Let's hope we don't repeat this again, but can never say never. Question from David. Yes, we did check on the tornado warning that was out around Shelbyville and Frankfort. That lost its circulation rapidly after just 2 scans from the Weather Service. That's what they're telling us that day. So no damage reported. So it was just one of those situations where the environment was ready. Just got to react to every little thing that you were able to see that was starting to spin, because the environment had already proven that additional tornadoes were going to develop. So it was more of a precaution. But glad to report no damage within wave country, but still it caused a lot of issues for our friends here to the south. There's that path again, which was the record of 165.7 moved into western areas of Kentucky. And you see all the specifics there. I don't have all these details yet on the newer one. Working on that. Just got the data in not too long ago. All right, we'll come back around to it. I'm sure later today we'll have more on our additional newscast about a recap as we still have more surveys coming out. But I just want to at least let you guys know where we stood on at least that one supercell that kind of skipped a little bit into Kentucky. All right, today, much calmer setup. We've got a mostly cloudy sky in spots, but we're trying to get more and more sun to break through. The problem is it is so cold upstairs that we'll try to break up some of these clouds. We will likely see additional ones they'll try to fill in into the afternoon. So some of you will enjoy lots of blue sky. Others will hold on to the clouds for a bit longer on that one. Shonda, I don't know if I saw your question, by the way. It's 45 miles, I believe. I'm not sure on the time. I want to say the time was over 50 minutes, if I remember right. But I'll get you more specifics later. Again, just now, you're going to get the data in from this morning. Okay, it is going to be a very quiet week. Good on the severe weather side. They have a lot to do down there. A lot of help needs to be brought down into southern Kentucky and Tennessee. So that's good. I'm glad to hear that. That's not always the case in an active time of year like this. Usually you get up with another system moving in. But this one is a very quiet setup here that is going to be painful for snow lovers. You guys are not going to be able to have anything to track. I didn't show a snowboard because there's nothing on the snowboard. And I don't know if there will be for a while. Here's the reasoning for it, guys. We've got a large high that's going to be building down this week. It's going to park itself right over us. You can see the influence of the high wrapped all the way around like this, kind of curling around the clockwise flow. The high is very much going to be a dome over us and keeping things quiet. It does slide a little more to the east and begin to weaken. That complicates the weekend forecast a bit. Nothing dramatic, but we don't have solid data yet on whether or not this low will wrap around the southern part of this and then build up to Kentucky, or will the high be so far east that this low ends up just going up the eastern seaboard as a little clipper joins in and phases with it to allow for maybe another rain and another snow. This has no doubt been the snowy area. I feel that the Rockies and New England area have been the snow spots so far for this late autumn. It's not winter yet, but late autumn season. That pattern keeps repeating itself. The systems that we keep seeing move through, they seem to always trend east as we get closer. I have no doubt that the idea of it going more east would make more sense. So for now, we'll go with a mostly dry outlook for the next several days. This may extend all the way toward Christmas, although there is another wave that wants to develop near Christmas that moves in. Here's the thing. While I don't see a signal right now for snow for Christmas, I do see a signal that could feature maybe some rain or even possibly some a thunderstorm setup. So I'm hoping it'll come through quiet. If it's not going to snow, at least be void of any system, right? Let's not have anything move through. But we may not get entirely lucky on that. But right now, everything's moving so slow. We should have plenty of time to track it. Looking at some of the longer term data here, the cold air, the polar vortex setup, you can tell it's locked in. It's locked in. The Arctic oscillation is trended back positive again. It's been trying to shift around. Certainly the core of the cold's been over Siberia, but yeah, it's just right now the fear that we were talking about last week of the cold air just getting constantly beat by what's coming in from the west continues to show signs of indeed happening. And I was looking at, this is one of the signal analysis maps. I know it's a little hard to read. I'm going to bring that full screen. The one on the left is the current setup. Hold on one second. Sorry, my system's really slow. There we go. The system on the left is, or the picture on the left is the current setup where you got your strong jet, you got your ridge that's going on here into the eastern United States. I don't see that changing dramatically, although you get into January 25th, and then it wants to bring the cold air into eastern Canada and try to bring the ridging back into the eastern Pacific at that time and maybe shut down the EPL signal and allow for the cold air to then dive down. But the first time I see that potential, at least going just by this idea, which actually hasn't done too bad, to be honest with you, I'm picking out some of these longer-term setups. Again, it's January 25th. Snow lovers, type 1 if you can wait. If you're not a snow lover, type 2 if you can wait until March. It's going to take some time. Now, can we get snow before then? Yes, you can get snow in a warm pattern. Absolutely you can. But you're, again, not going to see that in a longer-term setup. What these maps are showing you is a pattern change, colder pattern change where you get much colder scenarios. You can frigid. You can get much more of the winter storm outlooks across the country. But it doesn't mean you can't get some winter weather out of even system in a warm pattern. It's just got a lot more work to do. And as I mentioned before, you're not going to see it in advance. You'll see it in a short-term forecast. So, but the good news is about doing these daily with you all with SnowTALK is that nothing should sneak by us, right? We should be able to catch anything like that pops in. So even at a warm pattern, I'll still be here and still be updating in case we were to see something like that show up. I can tell you right now, there is nothing. But looking down the road, as far as anything a little more substantial in the cold, it'll take some time. Even the latest here on the GFS trying to show the polar vortex before, it was showing a distinctive dip into the eastern United States with a ridging here into the Aleutian Mountains in Alaska. It's not showing that signal very well. This is actually through Christmas, so it kind of makes sense. I showed you the outlook all the way to January. This model doesn't see that far out. But through Christmas, this makes sense because that's kind of the trend, is a warmer than normal pattern that likely will get us through the rest of December. So right now our odds are always fairly low for a white Christmas, but this year they are running lower than that. But as a snow lover, you're exactly right, Renee. I have to keep dreaming. I just want to be honest with you guys about how the pattern's looking, but hey, never say never. I mean, look how this system even evolved this past week from its heavy rain threat to eventually severe weather that ended up being one of the bigger tornado outbreaks that we've had across the Tennessee Valley, and it's just 2 years after the last one. So things around here can change fast. I hope that it was a good lesson on that idea, and that's the reason why I guess stay close to the forecast changes. There you go. Is everyone good? I didn't see many ones there. I saw a lot of twos. Everyone's good to wait. All right. Everyone all right? Good? Making sure you're good. We may not have any winter at all. Well, if it's anything like what we had the last time we had the tornado outbreak in Kentucky, in West Kentucky, the answer to that would be very little winter at all. That was a nearly snowless winter. So it's possible if you were to go by that pattern, but that was not an El Nino setup. So we do have a wild card here at play that we can't, you can compare the idea of the placement of the tornadoes and how they formed, but the idea, the ocean pattern was certainly different. So that's what's interesting here that's going to be studied is the difference in the two setups that'll be analyzed. So very good question though, David. And I'd never say never on here because you got to keep in mind, here's how I always like to look at it. This is the June of winter as far as being only a month into the summer season. In June, we don't get a lot of emails saying, hey, is summer over? We haven't hit 90 yet. On June 11th, I've never gotten that email before. So we rarely even don't get into the 90s until much later, in many cases, into the summer season. Same with the kind of a wintry setup. It is only December 11th. There's a lot more winter to go through. All we can do is pay attention to the signs and the signals and try to stay ahead of the game the best we can. But this year, again, is going to be a much more unique setup. We'll take it one step at a time, as I mentioned. I promise you, if anything develops, we'll let you guys know. Until then, get some of that yard work done if you need to, or get the holiday shopping done. Anything that involves travel outside. You got holiday parties next weekend. So far, the quiet weather is on your side, and I think that is a big plus that we can't ignore, right? Have a good rest today, guys. See you on midday.